Here we go.
All right, so we're here for the Census Complete Count Committee on Wednesday, February 26th at 10:30 a.m. Call to order. Approval of minutes. 2/10/20.
So we need a motion to approve.
Motion. Do we need a second or not?
Yep.
And I can second.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to,
And then I guess a call for approval, right? Vote.
Mm-hmm.
So just
All in favor?
all in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Right. Approved. So are we moving on to
Yep.
public appearances for non-agenda items?
Looks like nothing.
I don't believe so. Agenda review?
No changes to the agenda.
Okay. All right, agenda items. City outreach strategy tests and timeline.
And I can pick up on this. So we did kind of look at this first draft at our last meeting, and the goal today is to look at it again and finalize it, and then we'll start doing our outreach. I guess on that note, maybe let's hold off. So you should have a hard copy as well. There's also a copy in your packet. But before we get into this, I know folks have already kind of been doing some work. So maybe we could just do a quick roundtable and folks can talk about things they're doing already, or if there's been any questions regarding outreach. So maybe we'll just start with that. Carmen, I don't know if you have anything to input on that.
As the neighborhood navigators are out doing different events or we've just been kind of telling people that on the next event we'll bring information and handouts to give them on the census, and if they have any questions, just to be ready when we meet with them.
Great. And I believe everyone has Becky's email if you need, additional packets or flyers or information, so good. Ruth?
After the last meeting, I put things out in the clerk's area on both sides of the counter, some things out in the lobby.
Great.
And then I contacted Becky at Census to get a little more condensed items that we'd display at the polling places. So that's what we did last Tuesday. They went to all the polling places, and
Great.
just when they were coming in or exiting, they could see them. And I didn't get all of them back, so they did get picked up, which is nice. And then there's some, in our folder, there's some nice documents, and I copied some more this morning to get them out. But there's just some useful information, but
Great.
that's a start.
Good.
And you're also putting information down over at the library and the senior center and places?
Well, I think David's probably
Yeah, I
got the senior center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seabrook Library.
Yeah, but I did see some information over at the library.
Okay,
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
I'll check there too.
I did two big things. Number one, I applied for a job, and we had discussion with her about whether elected officials could apply, and she said if you're in a nonpartisan elected position, you'd be able to. I immediately got back ineligible because you are an elected official. So my thought is that any elected official around the state that is applying for a census job is getting turned away, regardless of whether they're partisan or nonpartisan, which bothers me. And I'd like to clarify for sure what the status of that is supposed to be. The other thing that I did was stop at the census table at Meadowwood Library recently and talk to the fellows there. I let them know that I had that issue with applying, but also asked things like, can they work hand in hand with League of Women Voters for voter registration and things like that. And they said they cannot overtly do that themselves, but they do work side by side with league people. So that is, as we try to touch the difficult to touch populations, I think to find a way to roll voter registration into that, I think is an important thing to do. So I'd like to try and find a way to at least pass out a little voter registration information at the time we're doing our work.
On that point, we have a gal that's one of our volunteers that will be helping out with getting people registered for the census on site at the Senior Center, and she's part of the League of Women's Voters, and so the whole roll-in will be something that we will be looking at as well through Marcia.
Does she have a schedule?
Not yet. That's what we're still working on. I'm working
Okay.
with Becky on that. Becky is coming in for a program on March 19th, not to only talk about fraud, but to get people aware, obviously, of the census, the importance of it, and to spread the word that way. So that's coming on March 19th.
Will FACT cover that meeting?
Yes.
Great.
And also, I've been working with Tiffany Loomis over at the Boys and Girls Club. She's now touching base with Becky, and actually, the AVP of Operations, Megan Murphy, will be in contact with Becky to have a presence over at the Boys and Girls Club, which we work with them on different projects and things like that, so that was a good connection that we had, and they were very open to that suggestion, so I think that's going to be wonderful. So I'll be waiting to hear back from Tiffany on the latest updates on their progress with that.
And just to kind of add to that a tad, I also stopped at Luna's Groceries at the top of Ally Drive and asked if they would be willing to be a touch point for census information, and the answer was kind of absolutely, as long as it doesn't take a lot of table space or time.
Mm-hmm. Great. We are handing these out, the social workers, not gotten them yet, but this is just a cheat sheet for apartment managers, senior apartment managers to be aware of timelines so that they're not caught off guard on, all of a sudden they're getting knocks from census takers trying to get individuals to get their census completed. So this came from the Dane County Area Agency on Aging, so they are making a real good push to get all focal points involved and aware that we need to get boots on the ground for the awareness campaign. So we are handing these out.
Do you have this electronically, David?
I do.
Do you mind forwarding it to the group here?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah. So I thought that was just handy that we're not going to get anybody knocked off course or anything like that. They can just follow this timeline. Marketing materials around the building. We also have front page information on our website. Mandy's going to be putting something on Facebook. We have 3 different points in the newsletter for March. Just a logo on the back that I produced, just the Census 2020 Fitchburg counts, will you be counted, ? On the back page. There's also an article in there explaining the importance of the census. Also, I cut and paste in the census job opportunities as sort of like an ad for individuals that might be interested in that. And so, again, that goes out to 850 people that will be touched by the newsletter and the online presence as well. So, hoping that we'll get some hits that way. Yeah, and then just the volunteers that will be available to have computers on hand at the Senior Center for folks that would prefer to work with us, prefer to work with the social workers in the house. I think that we got a good grip on that, so I think things are rolling along just fine.
Great. It sounds like we got an active
He
committee.
keeps reminding me of things. On the back of that, you have a ad for Fitchburg Family Pharmacy. I'd be willing to bet that Thad would be willing to host a computer to
Yeah, you're right.
allow people to register.
Yep. Talk to that.
probably the same as, true at least somewhat of, Redeemer City Church,
Yep.
although they don't have the all-day, everyday presence that the
Mhm.
pharmacy would have.
Yep.
And I had sent Wade an email, just a blurb I saw in the local news about the Madison Public Library had a table, a census participants just sitting and people just walking by and getting information. I thought that was a
Mhm.
wonderful opportunity. I go over to the Fitchburg Library quite often
Mhm.
at noon just to check the new books, and there's just all sorts of traffic over there. So I think that would be a great area that just a census taker, maybe having a small table where people are passing by and can get materials.
Mhm.
You hold on to that thought, I think we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yep, great.
Okay.
Good, we got an active committee, those are my favorite. I'm glad you guys are taking the initiative and getting out in there and doing work. Makes my job a lot easier. So maybe with that, we can turn to kind of the spreadsheet here. And again, this isn't set in stone, I think this is just kind of like an outline, you know, to kind of give us some direction as we continue to move forward. Certainly, people can do things that aren't on here, but again, this is just kind of a general strategy to encourage outreach for the census. So maybe this we can kind of walk through it. I envision myself being responsible for a lot of this stuff, but certainly if there's things that make sense for other people to do, or if there's things that people are interested in, you know, I would love to have the committee support as well. So just starting with number one, you know, I think this idea of a tagline on all our city emails, City of Madison is doing this. So basically, just like we have our signature line, you know, with your name and contact info, there would also be a little blurb at the end that says, the census is coming, you know, click here for more information. And obviously, we would want to have a website up before we put that tagline on our emails, but I did talk with IT. They're willing to put that tagline on every city email, but I just want to confirm with the committee that you think that's a good approach and a good idea.
Mhm.
I do.
Okay, good, so I will continue with that. And I think,
And are we adding that to, all agendas as well?
yeah, we could do that, like at the bottom, like where we have the little disclaimer about, like kind of there, is that what you're thinking? Like somewhere in here?
Go to the top.
Okay,
What the Dane County has a, little blurb about who, inclusiveness, that is a line under the 1030.
okay, so maybe I'll,
So at the top of every agenda.
okay, so
they
maybe
have
I'll look
something
at
special.
Dane counties as an example and then check in with our administration to see if that's something we can pursue. Okay,
And that will keep it foremost in people's minds that are involved in city government.
yep, great, good idea. So I think as we run through these, I'm just gonna probably put a deadline of March 15th on a lot of these things for me. You know, obviously this is one of many tasks that I'm doing, but I think, you know, getting everything done maybe a month ahead of time is certainly a reasonable goal. So that's, I guess, kind of what I'll propose for number one is March, so responsible party would be me, and then, you know, 3/15 as a completion date. Preparation of summary one-pager. I guess any other thoughts on taglines, agendas, those sorts of things? Okay. Number two, preparation of summary one-pager, and this was just a thought that would be nice to have something we can hand out that's consistent at our various events, but I think the census might already have that. Do we have like a flyers? The folks that have the hard materials, is there anything that kind of fits that bill?
Well, nothing real concise.
Okay, maybe what I'll do is I'll take I think this is good information,
Yeah.
and I think I'd like to customize a Fitchburg census thing,
Mhm.
so I'll take a stab at that. I'll probably work with you guys on that as well.
Okay.
But again, I think planning will be responsible for that. And again, we'll aim for 3/15 for completion. Postings on social media, again, I envision like planning, just working with Lisa from administration to make sure we get stuff out. Simple web page postings. So again, I can tackle that. article in Fitchburg Star in March and April. Again, I can put together a quick blurb for submission to that paper. And I guess, you know, if people want to do these things, please pipe in. I'll just assume, you know, I can take the load here, but if there's things people want to do, just please let me know.
I might be willing to help with at least one of them, or at least work together
With
on.
an article? Okay, so let's, yeah, and I think basically they want submissions by the end of, so for the March edition, I think we want to get them something probably this week. Actually, I believe we might have a Fitchburg Star person. When is your deadline for the March?
I cannot remember the deadline, but sooner rather than later.
Okay, sure, yep.
Okay,
So, yeah, maybe Dorothy, in the next day or two, I can put a draft together if you want to run with it, but I think by Friday we should
okay.
have them something.
Do we have a word count that we're looking at?
Usually, well, so kind of the gist, I just get them a paragraph or two, and basically it's at their discretion in terms of what they want to run. And then if they're interested, they'll usually contact me for more information. But I would say, yeah, just a couple paragraphs, probably. And then they can elaborate and do the research.
Okay, and letters to the editor are also something that if somebody wants to write a letter to the editor separate from that, that would also be something that
Yep.
they would pick up and publish,
Yep.
hopefully.
And I think that might be outside of this committee's purview. Certainly, you guys can do that on your own, but I don't think we want to probably promote a.
Or encourage others to.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Good.
Neighborhood residents.
Good.
Does the Star have any thought on publishing anything for the census?
That is what I'm here for.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the start of any?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And is it Renee? Do you just want to listen, or do you have thoughts on?
I was just gonna listen
Okay,
for now,
great.
and then I'll probably have.
And if you do have thoughts and you want to chime in, just you can step up to the mic and we can
Okay.
talk that way. Great, thanks.
Cool.
Number 5, and it sounds like, again, some folks might already be doing these sorts of things, but, you know, department newsletters. I guess our department doesn't have a newsletter. I know you guys do. You've been working on that.
Yeah.
Any other ideas on departments that might have newsletters that we want to reach out to?
Probably the library
Okay.
has all of their things that they send out.
Okay. And Dave, would you mind sending me what you've put in your newsletter? Because I think the more we're consistent, and I'll reach out to the library, but I think the more we're consistent in the messaging,
Sure.
the better. And obviously, I realize there's probably some nuances with your audience, but yeah, do you mind sending me that?
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
great.
Are we working with the chamber also to,
I haven't reached out to them, but that's somebody I can reach out to, yep. That probably comes under 6, so let's hold that thought. So any other thoughts on department newsletters, library, senior center?
Well, Boys and Girls Club, some of the senior apartments, we might be able to get them to do
Sure.
some creative thinking towards getting the residents involved and aware, so
Mhm.
it's something that we're gonna touch
Okay.
upon.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Some of these bigger apartment buildings, complexes in the area have their own newsletters too, so maybe contact the management.
Yep, and that's where maybe you guys, as part of your
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
broader work, you could put that in your
Sure.
wheelhouse. Great.
And working with management to ask them to post materials near mailboxes
Mhm. Mhm.
can be huge.
And do we have, I imagine we have stuff in Spanish as well, or those are
Yes.
available? Okay,
Uh-huh.
great. Okay, number 6, again, something I can take care of, but I think I'll probably just come up with a standard email. Just a couple paragraphs that we can blast out to our neighborhood associations. I guess next door, I don't have access, Dorothy, I know you have access to some of those.
Mhm.
Is that something you'd want to, if I craft the email, would you mind
Mhm.
getting that out? Okay. We have a big, listserv with our park and rec. I was envisioning maybe talking with Scott about using that as a distribution point. I don't know if it makes sense to send an email blast to all city staff. I don't know if that's relevant or not. But I feel like if they're informed, they could
Mhm.
informally spread the word as they see fit. Sound like a good idea, or,
Yeah,
okay. And then I guess just trying to connect with, all the committee liaisons in terms of staff committee. You know, again, and they can spread the word at their discretion to their various committees.
is it possible to send directly to everyone that is on committees?
I don't think we, Ruth, you might know better than I, but I don't think we have a good list of, like, staff, individual staff keeps track of those, so there isn't like a master
I don't believe so.
committee email list that I'm aware of.
So they're not on, do we have a Legistar or do we have something else?
No, we don't have Legistar.
Okay,
I think the best we have is like a web page with committees, and then if people are willing to provide emails, they might be on there, but there's nothing at, like, a clearinghouse for all that stuff. But I think working through the liaisons, I think that'll do the trick.
presuming that they.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, number 7, outreach to schools. I think this will be pretty important. I have some folks I know at MMSD in the North Fishhatch neighborhood that school-related folks. I don't think I have a lot of good contacts for Verona or Oregon. Anyone else has ideas on appropriate contacts?
I'll check with the rec department, because
Okay.
they do the ski trips and they have, connections that.
Okay. And again, I'm kind of just envisioning a standardized email to them with some attachments, and then if they want further information, let me know.
What you might do is get a hold of the school board president for each of the 3 districts and ask what the school board is doing about census, and ask them to
Mm-hmm,
help integrate that into the school system.
yep. Okay. Number 8, this, I don't know if folks are aware of this group, but it's kind of a group of faith leaders in our city. They meet fairly regularly. Also, a lot of elected, appointed officials show up as well. I know, Dorothy, you attend those. I thought if you're willing to kind of be a mouthpiece to those folks. Okay. When is your next meeting?
Well, we just met yesterday.
So
It'll be 2 months.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, that's, so probably early April, or late April.
I'm not certain exactly.
I would, again, if you remember the timeline, I think come May is when they start doing the, trying to follow up with
But
people.
they have their email list
Okay,
that we can
Yep.
get them to
yep,
send to. Because what the faith leaders are is the pastors of all the churches in the area. If we send them a note saying, please put a note in your church bulletin, or during announcements at your services, remind people about the census,
great.
that would go a long way.
And I think there'd still even be value of, at that April meeting, of just, reiterating the whole outreach, yep. Okay,
And those might be quarterly,
okay,
which would put it
oh,
beyond.
okay. But like you said, okay, at a minimum, an email notice, yep.
Yep.
Great. Fact TV, I think we'll just kind of work with them as needed, I guess. I don't know if, I know Jeremy does his kind of daily talk show, and it's looking for guests oftentimes. So if there's anyone interested in going on his show and talking about census, I'm sure he would be willing to accommodate that, so.
Yeah, I can talk to him about that.
Okay, great.
Put it on there.
I have some limitations in a lot of things because I'm on the ballot for April.
Oh, sure,
So I cannot put my name on things to the Star and things like that.
got it. Okay. Number 10, again, this is kind of the two elements here. I think the idea is once we have our one pager put together, we want to make sure we distribute it appropriately and widely. So I guess just looking for ideas on, again, I can prepare it and then get it to you guys. And maybe we just leave it at that. You guys can distribute as you see fit, or else we can maybe identify now some distribution points that we really wanna hit.
Do you know when utility bills go out next?
Should be the end of March. They were due at the end of December, so it should be March
Okay.
25th.
So
Okay,
could
so
we
that-
get
that would
something,
be a good one
could we
to
get
get
something
out.
out in those?
We'd have to ask Misty, but we can certainly ask.
So it's a finance question? The Finance
Yes,
department, okay, I will connect
Okay.
with them.
That's a good
Okay.
option there.
I think that would actually be really, really powerful, is getting something in a,
that's a huge
Yeah.
mailing, huge.
Mhm.
I guess the one thing there is if you're a renter, you're not gonna get that, is that right?
If you.
Depends how your building is metered,
Okay, okay.
but
Yeah,
it's
that-
certainly
that-
gonna
But
do
potentially they
residential.
should,
Potentially.
okay.
Mhm.
That's just water and sewer, right?
Well, it's also some non-sewered for runoff. So-
What I'm thinking is many or most apartment dwellers get an electric bill. So can we see if MG&E is planning on putting something in their electric bills for that month?
I wonder if Becky,
Yeah,
we should probably find out from Becky what the Census Bureau in this area is
mhm,
doing as well, because that might be something that she could,
Mm-hmm.
or she might have a contact for that.
mhm.
Does the city, is there portions that are covered by Alliant Energy as well as?
Yeah, we do have some,
MG&E?
we have a map of that, there is, yeah, a couple,
Okay.
some areas that are not MG&E. Yeah, let me think about that, yep.
I would think that they're community-minded enough to be able to put something in their mailings. But it would
Mhm.
have to
Yeah, we'll see.
probably be in the works already, so
Right.
hopefully.
Yeah, they're obviously a fairly big amount of bureaucracy, but yeah, I just, that could be a
We
bit of a
can-
hurdle, but I'll explore
We
that.
can encourage them.
Yep. Okay,
Maybe
any,
something on their webpage would be nice too.
any other thoughts on trying to get stuff out? Hard copy, standardized kind of ideas? Okay.
That's a whole lot. Mhm.
Yep. Okay, so I'll connect with Misty and then try to find an MGE and Align contact as well. Okay, I guess 11 just kind of is a segue off of that, so just, where we want to post stuff once we have our materials, and I know folks have already been doing that, but again, I think it's important that we kind of have some, priority areas. I think City Hall, we've got some stuff, library. Does the committee, I haven't really connected with the library yet, does the committee want me to really connect with them and try to get some information over there? So I'm thinking posting of information, stacks of information, and then David, you mentioned a table? Is that-
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because they have a lot of information that's over
Okay.
there. I'm not saying it's cluttered by any means, but can easily be overlooked. But boy, that table that we'll heard on the news, it looked really effective.
but I mean, like literally a person sitting at a table, is that?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
someone from the Census
Okay.
Bureau that was a
Mhm.
representative.
Great.
That was there to answer questions, and yeah, a lot of foot traffic.
okay, I will connect with the library on that. And Carmen, maybe you and I and Elizabeth will talk about maybe just, you guys can spend a couple hours just maybe going around town, putting up flyers and.
Or
that's-
having a table somewhere too.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. And just so folks know, so Carmen and Elizabeth isn't here, but as part of their job is they go to places where neighborhood residents frequent and they set up a table with information, particularly in the neighborhoods that we have traditionally have low response rates. So I think just adding some census information to your table makes a lot of sense.
Mhm. Now, question on our buildings and our official bulletin boards, probably Ruth question. Will we have census information on the official bulletin boards?
I would expect so.
Do not touch this information.
Well,
Do not
that's
post
my
community
intention,
postings
that's
here.
where I intend to have things.
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it would,
So Ruth, you can kind of handle the city hall side of postings?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, and
great.
then the bulletin board in the front next
Great.
door, and then I
David,
bring
you
it
got it.
down to yours, that's where we do our
Yeah.
official postings, the 3 posting places.
Great. Where was the third?
The lower level is in the senior center hallway,
Yeah.
And then City Hall here,
and
and then
then the
where's the?
community center front entrance.
Okay, and maybe I'll connect with, the rec department as well, yep. Okay. 12, again, I think we kind of talked about Carmen and Elizabeth, and we'll kind of work as a team to probably do some stuff, to really kind of get the word out that way. 13, I believe we have a mayoral proclamation set, is that right, Dorothy?
Well, I heard that Lisa was going to write one. I was kind of hoping that that could be a bit of a group project, but she decided to grab it and run with it.
Okay. So that will probably come in April?
Well, would it, or would it be the second meeting in March?
Maybe I'll check in with Lisa and just see
Okay.
what the thoughts are there.
I like monthly proclamations to come at the beginning or soon before the beginning.
Well,
Too often they come at the end of the month and it's like, oh, right.
Mhm.
let's see, so the,
But you're right, Ruth, maybe the second meeting makes sense.
it'd be
Yeah.
prior to the beginning
Yep.
of Census
Mhm.
Day.
Okay. All right. I guess 14 is a little bit redundant, but again, just whatever we come up with as a city, in terms of a one-pager, whatever the census has, let's just make sure, when we're at events, that we have that information. And David is planning separate events just for these activities, so it sounds like you guys are making good progress there. So yeah, I will kind of plug in responsible parties based on our conversation. Again, I think, most of my dates to be complete will be mid-March, and then others will just kind of have rolling timelines. I think that's what I wanted to cover today.
And under 15, I've still got texting, trying to find ways to get viral messaging
Okay,
into people's phones.
yeah,
Well,
okay,
I did talk to, I talk on occasion with some of the kids that go to Planet Fitness, and I was asking, one, how you would go about, in particularly the black community, getting them to participate in text conversations
Mhm,
and whatever about all this,
mhm.
so.
Yeah, the one issue there, and I've ran into it before, is a text coming from the city is considered a public record.
Mhm.
But if it's just a standardized, like maybe just one, you're thinking like one text blast kind of thing, that would say census is coming, go here for further information.
Well, I'm interested again both in voter registration as well as census. And
Okay.
I understand the need for education.
Sure.
You can't just, a single
Mhm.
time that someone hears something doesn't sink in.
Okay.
You have to hear something like a minimum of 4 times
Yeah.
before it actually reaches your consciousness.
Could you repeat that 3 times?
But the majority of that community, their
Mhm.
cell phones are on prepaid
Mm.
services,
Mhm.
and that's not, those phone numbers are not, I don't think they are public.
Right, which is why I'm saying we'd be looking to send people a message that they would be interested in forwarding to others.
Oh,
Yeah, I can think about how we could maybe craft that.
And just to find messages that would tend to go viral is
Yeah,
the really hard part.
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know if the census people have gotten an idea of what kind of messaging is effective
Mhm,
like that already or not.
mhm. Yep. Okay. Any other thoughts on outreach pieces? All right, I think we got a pretty comprehensive approach. Like I said, I will clean this up and then shoot this out to you guys, hopefully by the end of the week. And then we'll start on stuff or continue to do work as you guys have been doing. Good.
No, question that I wanted to come back to way at the top, are we talking census coming in March? Is that-
What's that?
What, was it going to be,
Oh,
My-
oh, you mean the
my-
actual wording of that? Yeah, do you guys, do you wanna do you guys wanna parse that now, or do you want me to just do that later in terms of that wording?
well, when do, okay, it is the beginning of March that the first invitation gets sent out.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Okay, March 12 to 20, households begin receiving. Okay. So that's appropriate. What my question was, whether that's supposed to be March or April. but it
Yeah, no,
should
maybe
be
I'll
March.
see if other communities are doing this kind of thing with email, and then just see maybe just get a couple different examples of,
Mhm.
what people are doing, and then try to pick the most succinct one. But yeah, good point. Okay, any other thoughts on outreach? All right, so I guess, yeah, if anyone else has other thoughts on agenda item A, I guess if that we can move to B.
We, other business?
Yep.
Other business? All right, report from department.
I don't have anything.
Announcements.
And I think here maybe we should set the next meeting. So I'm just looking at the March calendar. So actually the 15th is a Sunday, the 13th is a Friday. So if my goal will be to have everything done, let's say by the 13th that we've talked about. Would it make sense? So if I don't have everything done by then, that would mean ideally a meeting the week of the 23rd. Do folks feel comfortable with that? And then I think we can kind of get set up, the literal kickoff will be in, a couple weeks after that, so maybe that's our last meeting before the actual kickoff. Yeah, what do people think of that?
Mhm.
Week of the 23rd? Should I send out a doodle poll, or do we want to set a date and time now?
Might depend on,
Could we do a doodle poll again? Would you?
Doodle? Sure.
Would you mind doing
Yep.
that? Thank you.
daytimes are usually fairly open.
Okay.
I know these guys have department and other meetings.
And other people in the department have something, so,
Right,
and I'm
Yeah.
up front, so,
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay, I will send out a poll.
thank you.
All right, I guess we're moving on to adjournment. The process of.
Move adjournment.
I'll
Motion.
second.